This is a continuation from the last video because I dropped the camera, my phone camera. So the voice was saying, I have been here before. You must look after Sophia. She has an important job to do. And then I picked up a rose quartz stone that I had, a rough stone that I had in the house, and I gave it to her. And then she started crying and said, my heart just felt the love of God. And she started crying. She was like in tears. She said, I can feel God. I can feel God. I was taking all of this in my stride. I mean, I didn't really know exactly what it meant at the time. And that week was really interesting for me because, and then I went to my, that week was interesting for me. The day after I went to my father's funeral, and I went to the funeral, I was very much at peace. And afterwards, when I went back to my brother's house, there was 5 of us, my brother, his children, his wife, my niece, 2 nieces, and we were talking, and I just said, I started to feel really funny, and I could feel this voice. I called it the voice at the time. I said, this voice is going to come. So I took my 19-year-old niece and we went into the hallway, and then my body started feeling weird, and then this funny voice came out again. And the first thing the voice said was, the Queen is behind the walls. And everybody was, then my brother came out and they were like, what, the Queen? They were really like, what's going on? Why is she saying that? And then the voice, my eyes were closed, and then my head turned towards my brother's wife and said, he was wrong. He was wrong. It was wrong. And then finally my dad came through really strong, and he was crying. So you would see me crying on the floor, and he was saying, I did bad things. I love your mum. I love her so much. I was so bad. I was so wrong. And I was crying. So if you saw me, I was on the floor crying, but it was him channeling me. And he channeled through me, and he said, I'm so sorry. I want you all to be happy. I love your mum. I love your mother. My dad was divorced from my mum, and he was quite aggressive to my mum, and that resulted in them not being together. But it was like his soul was passing through a particular phase where he was made. And I understand this now after doing ayahuasca, that when you die, there's no hell. You become pure spirit, which is pure love. And when you're pure love, you understand all the things that you've done on this earth that were not good. So your soul understands, I hit that person, or I stole from that person, or I hurt that person, and you feel the hurt that they felt. Even the hurt that they felt, not even at the moment of impact when the argument happens, but when that person goes home and cries, or how it's affected the rest of their life. You carry, that karma comes back to you, and you're there. When you die, your soul is just crying, and that's where my dad was. He was crying and crying and crying. He said, I'm so sorry. I was so bad to her. I hit her. I was wrong. I love her so much. I love her so much. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I hurt her so much. Sorry, it's quite emotional talking about it. And I understood then, I understood what happens when you die. And there's no hell. You're not going to go in fire and burn because you're not physical anyway. That's what happens. Everything you've ever done to hurt anyone in any way, even if you've just passed a comment to someone say that might have hurt them, like, oh, big nose or spotty skin, whatever kids say and adults say, you will feel what that person has felt throughout their life, because we all know, when I was a child, I was also bullied, and we all know that we carry those things for the rest of our lives, unless you're lucky enough to be able to get rid of it. So my dad was going through this place, which where you understand. And it was the same that happened when I met my dad on the other side on day 2 of ayahuasca, or day 1 where he became a star, and I judged him and I said I want to see my dad, and I said to, why did he do bad things? I was told, how dare you judge him? And I cried because I judged him. I was so upset because I judged him. Even that small thing, I judged him because he was arrested for a crime that he ended up that he didn't do. But I judged him and believed he did it. And that judgment hurt my father. See, what also happened on this day when I got back, and it was that day of the funeral, after we buried him, after he was saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, he then said, she lied, I suffered. And I knew what that meant. It meant that girl who accused him of underage sex was lying. I mean, he was found not guilty anyway. But I judged him. So, yeah, so that happened. He said she lied and I suffered. And he said to his kids, I'm always in your heart, which was what he said to me as well on day 3 before he left me. Before he left me when I did day 3 of ayahuasca, he said, I'm always in your heart. Because I was saying, Daddy, Daddy, where are you? He said, I'm always in your heart. And this is what he said to my brother who was there and everybody else who was there. I'm always in your heart. And he didn't want to leave me. And my body was getting a bit shaky. And I was saying, Dad, go, go, go. You have to leave now. And I said to everybody, don't ask him any questions because he will answer them and he will stay. So my niece was then shouting, Granddad, go, Granddad, go. And eventually he went. But his energy was still there. So it was really intense. And after that, after that day of my dad's funeral, for 2 weeks later, spirits kept jumping into my body. So I went to see a friend of mine, and he had a flatmate, and I'd never met her before. And as we were talking, my body started going weird again. I was like, okay, something's going to happen. And then she said she saw something jump into my body, and literally a minute later, this voice starts talking from me saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong, it wasn't your fault, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. And basically this girl got raped when she was 3 years old by somebody in the government. She was part of the government paedophile ring, you know, when they were grooming children. So she was part of this, and they paid her off basically, not to take it further. I think they gave her £20,000 as she told me, which was money that she needed, so they paid her off. So it was the rapist coming through. And this happened a number of other times. It happened with somebody else. It just kept happening, and I couldn't control it. So then I phoned up the place where I did ayahuasca and spoke to somebody. I said, look, I need to be able to stop this because I don't want this happening when I'm shopping in Sainsbury's. So they told me what to do to close off the energy, and if I felt it coming, just to say, okay, back off, it's my time. And she said, you can make appointments with them. So if you feel somebody's energy and they really want to speak to their son or daughter or wife, you can make appointments with them. So I started practicing this. Whenever I felt an energy or a soul trying to come through me, I would say, okay, you can see your daughter at 11 o'clock tomorrow, and we called them and they'd come and I would allow them to channel through me. And now that's something I can do whenever I want to. And my dad came through a lot more times afterwards. Even on the phone, I can channel people now, which is something I've never ever been able to do. And this all happened after I did ayahuasca. And I was very much aware that the souls were coming to me for redemption. So they were coming to me, like there'd be two voices. So there'd be this one saying, I'm sorry. And then I'd turn this way. What did you do? What did you do? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. What did you do? Tell them what you did. So I didn't know what that meant at the time. And now I understand it was Mother God, Sophia, who I am, Lord God, inside of me, giving these spirits the opportunity to redeem themselves. And So I'm here really as well to redeem all souls, alive and dead. Souls don't die, but the physical body. Then a number of things happened. I'm trying to put everything in this video. So I kept like a little sacred journal to remember some of this stuff, and because I had to start writing things down. And you know, since then I was having lucid dreams and I was traveling to different dimensions. So anyway, so let's go to, so then I did a Reiki course, and then somebody introduced me to Changa, which is the smokable form of ayahuasca. It's very different to ayahuasca in the sense that you're right to the place where you need to get to. The message is given to you. Well, I say that was the case with me. But everybody is different. And since I did a number of Changa ceremonies and saw, it's very, very different. But some people have deeper experiences on Changa than they do on ayahuasca. But ayahuasca is a journey. It's a longer journey. It's like 3, 4, 5, in 6 hours sometimes. And Changa is like a 10-minute journey. You inhale the sacred plant and you are literally lying down within 10 seconds. And then you start journeying, whereas with Aya, you don't journey until at least 45 minutes to an hour. Okay. So my first ceremony I did with the Changa was a week after I did ayahuasca. And I was again in the group of people, and I was the first one to take the pipe. And as soon as I took it, I lay down and I started talking. Which is very unusual because most people just lie down and start journeying and seeing things. So I was talking and I started saying, I am your mother. I love you so much. I love you so much, my children. Sophia Hyatt is your mother. You must listen to her. And I kept repeating that. And I felt an immense love for everyone in my heart. I felt this love of a mother to her children. I don't have any children, physical children, but I felt this immense love for everybody in that room and everybody in the world. And it was just, and then it wore off. Like after 2 minutes, I just got up and looked at everybody and said, was that real? And they said, yeah. And I said, oh no, oh wow, I was born for this, my children, I love you. Then we went round again the second time with the Changa, and the same thing happened. I am your mother, I love you so much, I love you all so, so much. Sophia Hyatt is your mother, you must listen to her. Sophia Hyatt is your mother, I love you so much, my children, you must listen to her, apart from her farts and her stupid jokes. I actually said that, so everybody was laughing. I mean, I didn't see anything. What happened when that happened? It was like 2 pillars, like the pillars of the temple in Egypt. It's the Hathor's temple. I remember when I went into Hathor's temple after this experience. I'll tell you how and when I got to Egypt. But the pillars came in, and then they almost fed me information and came out, and that's when I started speaking. I am your mother. I am your mother. Then I participated in another Changa ceremony because I was intrigued. I'm like, something's going on with me. It's like I had this burning desire to find out what was happening with me. And this is where I started writing some things down. It was on September the 24th, and there was a guy called Anthony at the ceremony. And he journeyed first. And he met his brother on the other side, and they were showing him around, and yeah, so it was a beautiful, magical place he'd gone to. Then when I went, it was my turn. I immediately saw two huge spiraling shapes full of colours, jigsaw like 3D. If you imagine like the cross, but in 3D, it came into view. It came into view, and I was in a place which was all completely black. Then they spiraled out. And then I spoke out loud and I said, "I am here. Sophia is finally here. She is here." I kept repeating that. And then I said, again, this is all coming through me from that place where I go to. And then it said, "Sophia is finally here. I am the Lord." It was really strong. I then sat up and I held my arms up to the air. And I wasn't doing this on my own. There was something that was doing it for me. I got up and I just held out my arms like this and then went, and it's like this, the Holy Spirit entered my body, who I understand is me now. I then sat up and I was crying and I just looked at Anthony and I was saying, "Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?" And I put one hand on his head and one on his heart and gave him a blessing. So that was on September the 24th. And the guy who was there, Anthony, I think he was quite overwhelmed with it and didn't really know what was going on. He decided, or he didn't register it. It was almost like, okay, now it's my turn. So I don't know what he was thinking, but it wasn't something that he talked about or brought up afterwards, which is absolutely fine. So I've got 10, 9. Sorry, I'm just going through these notes. Okay. So that happened. Then on October the 9th, 29th or 9th? October the 29th, I think. I say that because of the way it's written. I thought it was the 23rd. It might be the 29th or it could be the 9th. Anyway, I think it's the 29th. So whilst I was, when I did my ayahuasca ceremony, there was a girl at the ceremony who I'd never met before who shared her pomegranate juice with me. She came over and she said, "Look, in the spirit of sharing, have some." And I did. And we became friends, and she lives in London. And I was like, "Look, I'm going to go for a Changa ceremony." So we did a ceremony together. And it was just us two. And I was basically holding space for her. And it was very interesting. So we did this ceremony. Sorry, my dog just walked in. We did the ceremony together, and there was a plant on the table of the ceremony room, and Sandra journeyed twice first, and she saw beautiful colours. And I wasn't supposed to journey at all, and then I was almost told that I had to journey. So I said, "Look, I think I need to journey." As soon as I started journeying, it was like something being spoken through me. So I started talking. So I was talking forward, saying, "Okay, Sophia is a human." Then I turned my head to the left. "She's got to do it again. She's tired, leave her alone. We must get the reset codes." So there was a conversation going on between two entities, spirits, angels, whatever you want to call it, gods even. And Sandra looked at me and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, this needs to be done." And I kept, you have to go, Sophia. She has to go. Well, they weren't asking me, you have to go. She has to go. She's a human. She's got things to do in her life. She must do this. Um, same. So then basically I journeyed again, and I got a whole bunch of reset codes that were coming. And I just kept getting these codes being downloaded into my body, and then again, this whoever was protecting me, it was either an angel, I believe it was an angel or another god, saying, okay, stop it now, she's a human being, this is enough for her, she's tired, she's already been doing this for 2 hours. And then the head turned again, no, she has to, we have to get the final codes. And again, I was really tired. I was just somewhere else, and I was awake. My eyes were open. I was sitting up, and Sandra just said, "Are you sure?" I said, "It really has to be done." So I went again. I just got these huge codes that downloaded into my body, and then I opened my legs. I was sitting on the floor, I opened my legs, and I was looking between my legs, and I was saying, "Wake up, children! Wake up, children! Wake up, children! Wake up! Wake up!" And I kept saying, "Reset, reset, reset." And and then at that point again they were saying she has to go again, and there was this negotiation going on. So I'm talking this out aloud, and Sandra's hearing this. It's like, she's got a sore throat, leave her alone, she can do this, we have to bring Sandra through. Who is Sandra? Tell us who Sandra is. We have to do this. Sandra has to come through. And again, Sandra was like, Sophia, you've been going for hours. And I said, I know, this has to be done. So then I took the pipe again, and this time something extraordinary happened. Sorry, I just pressed pause because I had to get something. And this time something extraordinary happened. I saw all of Sandra's incarnations. I looked at her face and I saw all of her incarnations, and she went back, back, back. One of them was Gandhi, Indira Gandhi. And she went back, back, back until, I'm just reading these notes and just remembering this, until there was this beautiful goddess. She was like, she'd come through from another dimension. I don't believe in time because it's all one big now. And then all the angels and spirits jumped in my body, and I was lying down, and we were looking at her going, wow, wow, look at her. Isn't she beautiful? Look at her. Wow. And they were doing this. They couldn't look at her for too long because she was so beautiful. And Sandra kind of took on that energy. It was like she felt that energy. She couldn't see what I was seeing, but she felt it. And she was sat there so graciously with this beautiful smile on her face. And all the angels and spirits were so excited to see her. And so she's here now, she's so beautiful. I can't look for so long. Her hands, look at her hands. Her hands were like this in a meditation. And now I was saying, who is she? And the spirit said, she's a goddess. And I thought, and then I said to them, I thought I was God. So there was something inside me like, but you both made the world. And this is what she looked like. I had to draw this. So this is what she looked like. Can you see that? And these bits were blue, like the virgin blue, and these bits were white, and that was all blue. So this is what I saw, and it was just tremendous. And then I knew it was time to stop and to come back. So I looked at Sandra and I said, Sandra, let's stop it now, let's stop it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I need to stop this, I need to stop it. And I found it very difficult to come back from where I was. And I was looking at her and I was saying, tell them to stop it now. And she said, what do you want me to do? And I was looking at her and it was like, I'll read what I wrote down here. Tell them to go, it's done. It was as if she was waiting for an instruction from me. I then said, switch on my phone. We switched on the service, and basically the phone looked really fuzzy in my hand. I couldn't make out that it was a phone because I wasn't here on this earth. And if you understand that we are pixels created by sacred geometry pixels which create everything in existence, I was above that realm. And I was looking her in the eye saying, tell them to stop it, it's done. And then I knew that switching on the phone, bringing back service and being back in the three-dimensional world would stop the connection. Well, I say connection, it would bring me back to this realm because I was out of it. So we switched on the phone, and then I just frantically closed the circle, and I had loads of crystals, so I put them all back in place, and I was back. Then 2 days later, after this experience, I was talking in my sleep, and I kept saying, you were born on September the 24th, go to the Buddha. You were born September 24th, go to the Buddha. And I woke up thinking, what does that mean? And where I live, there's a big Buddha shrine in the park. So I was taking my dog for a walk that morning, and I completely forgot about it until I walked past it. And I thought, oh, I need to go and walk around the Buddha 3 times. So I walked around the Buddha 3 times, and I just started praying, and then I went, of course, and I understood. That was the day the Holy Spirit came into my body and made me realise who I was. That was when Anthony was at the house. Now, what also happened, I forgot to say this. See, there's so much that has happened. I keep missing things, and I don't have an order of how these things happen because I wasn't writing it down. Didn't think I needed to write it down, but now I do because I'm hoping that this will reach people. You know, maybe even after I'm gone, so you know what's happened and you know who I am, and you get the real story and not some twisted story that somebody with an agenda has made up, as they've done in a lot of the holy books. So yeah, the day before, hold on. Just going through these notes again. Right, yeah. So the day before I'd got the before I'd met Sandra and got the codes and brought her through. What happened? I was sun gazing. I was walking past. This was the same day as the Buddha, before the Buddha, sorry, and because that was September the 24th, and I was told to go to the Buddha, but I'd gone again because I walk past the Buddha every day. I walked past it, and the sun was calling me. And I was staring at the sun, and I just couldn't stop staring, and it turned blue, and it kind of created like a light in my third eye when I closed my eyes. And then that night, yeah, it was the day before Sandra came over. Yeah, it was the day before Sandra came over. So that night, I woke up at 3:30 a.m., which is something that I'm doing a lot of. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and at the end of my bed, I was woken up by the sound of the Tibetan bowl. Ooh, it was like this. And I woke up and I saw an eye at the end of my bed, and I wondered what it was doing there. It was like a big eye, like this, but not, it was just the eye part. And then it beamed a light into my forehead and brought down some codes into my body. And I think that was part. I think these codes are very important for everybody because they're awakening codes that are going to allow us to ascend on this planet. I'm just going through this again. Right. On October, it was the 1st, 2nd or 3rd. I journeyed again. It was like my body was telling me that I needed to journey, and I was on my own, and it was just like I just get this calling. It's like you need to journey, you need to journey. So I did a spiritual ceremony with the Changa again, and this journey ended up, I think, 3.5 hours, and I ended up going through realms, heaven. I thought at one point what I thought was heaven, which I now know is Egypt. And I kept tumbling and tumbling, going through these places. I met Ganesh at one point, and it was like Ganesh was guiding me through a particular place. And then I'd written on the floor Honsha Ze Shonin, which is a Reiki symbol, and I picked it up. It was a piece of paper, and I was looking at it. I was lying down. I picked it up. I screwed it up in my hands, and then I opened my hands, and it would flatten out. And I kept doing this, and it would flatten out. I didn't remember this until something else happened. And then I got to this place, and I remember thinking, okay, I just completely surrendered. I was like, I just need to completely surrender to this. I trust that the whole universe has stopped for whatever needs to happen at this point. Again, I forgot to mention something. When I started to do this journey, I did have my iPad with me to record. So at the beginning, I pressed record, and I started to go into meditation with Changa. And as soon as I was about to lie down, a big hand like this came in front of me and went, and I understood. I can't record this. This is so sacred. So I picked up the iPad. I was saying, sorry, and I threw it out of the room. And then what happened as I lay down, I could hear a buzzing in my ear, zzz, and the day before I'd killed a wasp. It was in my kitchen. I threw a jumper over it, and it was dead in the morning, and I knew I was being told, what did you do? So yeah, and I'd gone through so many dimensions, so many layers of my life, my non-life, my spiritual life, to get to a point where I basically took off all of my clothes and I gave birth to a planet, the planet that I picked up on my ayahuasca journey. My waters broke, and I'd given birth to this planet. And then angel was talking through me. Someone was talking through me saying, you didn't think she could do it, did you? But she's done it. She's done it. I believe it's the planet we will ascend to. So I gave a cosmic